Hello and welcome to Beacon Hill Briefings. I'm Jack Patrick Lewis, State Representative here in Ashland and in Framingham. And today we're joined by Susan Gentili from SMOC, South Middlesex Opportunity Council. Susan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So you were the, is it president or CEO or president and CEO?
I believe the title is actually president and CEO.
Excellent.
Yes.
Of SMOC, and you've been in that position for about a year?
About a year and a half now.
Wow. Excellent. Well, you're no stranger to SMOC or our region, but congratulations. And
thank you.
A little late in congratulating, but welcome to this new position. We're excited today to not only talk a little bit about SMOC, what it does in our communities, but also what you're hoping we're going to be able to accomplish together as an agency, but also as local and state leaders wanting to support the constituents that you also support. So maybe a good place to start for folks who aren't as familiar with SMOC as maybe you and I might be is, can you give us an overview of what programs you provide?
Sure. We are actually a community action agency, and we were founded in 1965 as part of President Johnson's War on Poverty. First program was Head Start, so we still run Head Start and child care programs, very near and dear to our heart. But we have expanded over the years to cover a lot more programming, targeted a lot at people who are very low income and disadvantaged, but also open to many community members like child care, for example, and people who are on fixed incomes like older people on Social Security. So things like home energy assistance, which is was formerly known as fuel assistance, but now it's known as home energy assistance. That also includes weatherization and sometimes appliance replacement. So that's a really terrific program to help people. Women, Infants, and Children, which is more commonly known as WIC. Again, an incredibly important program for women and children up to age 5. The rental assistance program, so we administer vouchers for Section 8 and MRVPs and some project-based vouchers. And we also operate a housing consumer education center, which provides information and referral to tenants, landlords, and homeowners and prospective homeowners. And that also includes first-time homebuyer classes that we host. As I said, we run child care and Head Start. We have about 800 kids in our child care and Head Start programs throughout the year. So those are really key cornerstone programs. We know that early education is so important to young developing children, and that everybody doesn't have access to preschool. And so to be in a nurturing and really educational environment is so important for developing young minds. We run behavioral health care. We have clinics in Marlborough and in Framingham. And we also run residential recovery programs for women, and we do a lot of peer support work. So we have a peer recovery center here in Framingham, and we do peer recovery coaching throughout Metro West. We also operate workforce development programs, so job training and job placement, including a program known as the Green Jobs Academy, which is really interesting and exciting because it's a job training program in the green jobs industry, which is really something that's kind of up and coming. And so it's good for the environment, and it's great for people who get trained because they have a career ladder that they can advance on, and in a really great industry. We run the Voices Against Violence program, which is for people who experience sexual assault and domestic violence. Families and individuals partake in that program. And then we have our nonprofit housing corporation, which we own and manage about 1,600 units of housing here in Metro West, but also out in Western Mass around Springfield, in Worcester and Central Mass, and up in Lowell.
Something in Leominster recently as well, right?
Yes, in Leominster, the Days Inn. We're in talks with the hotel and working on acquiring that so that we can turn some of it into permanent supportive housing.
Okay. Excellent. I'm assuming that's public knowledge, and
yes.
We can talk about it. Okay. As soon as I asked, I was like, "Oh shoot, this is when we should cut." Well, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was
that's it.
As somebody who is in regular touch with folks at SMOC, I was reminded of a couple programs that you did. So I think it's good to hear that list. Folks might not think that they themselves are eligible for all of your programs or even any of them, but as you go down the list, there are a few people who wouldn't be touched by at least one or two of those, either themselves or their immediate family. In Framingham, in our Metro West region, we have many social service agencies, from SMOC to Advocates to JRI Health to Wayside. Anytime I start listing, it's always dangerous because I'm forgetting somebody. And a whole host of other ones that aren't coming to mind, those 4 large ones in particular. And so I know it can be a little tricky for folks to know where to go when they have a need. Do you have any guidance on, should someone call SMOC? Should someone call Wayside? How do you know?
Well, I think, we each have some of our own particular specialties.
Okay.
Advocates is about to open their new center on Route 9, which is really exciting because it will really be a walk-in place for people experiencing especially behavioral health emergency situations. And so that's a wonderful addition to the community. Wayside really specializes in children and family work, and they're wonderful at it. And JRIA Health is a wonderful resource for people in the community as well. So I think we each kind of have our own, but although we work together a lot too, there's a lot of overlap. I think the thing about SMOC that's nice is that we really want to have somebody who comes to any of the doors. So let's pick fuel assistance. Someone comes and applies for fuel assistance. As they're doing the application or talking with staff, if another need comes up, the staff person can refer them to our Housing Consumer Education Center. Let's say the landlord is not making some necessary repairs to the heating system. So then they would get a referral to the Housing Consumer Education Center, and somebody there could walk them through talking with their landlord and provide some advocacy, maybe a referral to Metro West Legal Services.
Oh yes, that would have been the 5th one I should
Another
have
great
mentioned.
community resource, so that I think we all work together to really make sure we all have the same goal of making sure that the people we serve really get connected to anything that would be helpful to them, to help them kind of be able to retain housing. That's really one of our main focuses at SMOC. And we know that things like fuel assistance and WIC are programs that are supplemental, but they help people have the money that they need to buy nutritious food and pay their rent and have their heat on throughout the cold winter months. So we really see all those things working together. Some people just need one thing, and that's fine too, but some people need a couple. And I think that's one of the things we specialize in.
As someone who works closely with all of those agencies, it's clear that you do all have a collaborative approach. And as much as one never wants to think about agencies or nonprofits thinking about turf and stepping on each other's toes, last 6-7 years as the state rep for this area, never ever got that sense. Instead, you're constantly supporting one another and then participating in regional conversations because you all have the same ultimate goal that families need to be supported in our region. And as you said, housing, food, families, recovery, intimate partner violence. SMOC seems to do it all, but you have a focus. And I think for folks watching at home, if you ever think that there's a service that SMOC or these other agencies could provide you, always find, if you reach out to me, and I'm happy to reach out on your behalf to help have some of those preliminary conversations.
And I'll just say, I'll plug, we are updating our website right now. It's a project we've been working on for, I think, close to a year. Our website that is up right now needs some work. It's outdated, and I'm very excited that we'll get to launch our new one probably in the next 30 to 60 days. We're pretty close. And so I think it will be much more, we've really done it with the consumer in mind, with anybody who might need to find something quickly, or if they want to take some time and look at the breadth of what we do, they'll be able to find it. I think it'll be a much more searchable and usable website when we're finished. So stay tuned, that's coming, and hopefully that will be a good resource for people.
Excellent.
I know it will, actually.
Yes. You just mentioned, so I think when a lot of folks in Framingham think of SMOC, they think of your headquarters just to the east of downtown there. But as you started listing regions and communities, it's clear that SMOC is running programs and across the state. And so can you talk a little bit about what actually goes on outside of Framingham, that it's not just Framingham focused, but also, while folks might be watching this anywhere, right now we're in Ashland. And sometimes it seems like that's a Framingham service and not necessarily an Ashland one, which I know isn't the case. So I'd love to hear more about what you do in Ashland, but also more
Sure.
Further afield.
Well, in Ashland, we really do a lot of work around childcare and Head Start. We have about 100 kids enrolled, and then we serve people with fuel assistance, WIC, behavioral health care. the recovery support programs that we operate are all open to and serving people from Ashland. We also have a women's shelter in Ashland, and I must say the community is so welcoming and supportive. If we need donations and we just ask, we put the call out, people bring things, people donate when they have leftover items. You know, people do food drives, they do coat drives. Anything we need, if we ask the Ashland community, they're right there for us. We have capacity for 28 women at the emergency shelter, and we served 67 women in the last year at Shadows. And that is really an important safety net, and it is all women, and so it's a safe feeling for people to kind of come together. We really build a community within the program, and people might come in and they might have lost ties with friends and family, which often happens, but then they build a new kind of support system from the relationships that they develop in the shelter. And we help people with connections to all the things we just talked about, anything they may need. First is usually getting a job or getting Social Security disability income if they're disabled, so that they have some income. We work on housing, but people need other support services as well. And our staff is really caring and committed. They talk to each person, each woman at Shadows, and really understand what they want, what are their goals, and how can we help you kind of take some steps forward on those goals. So those are some Ashland specific right here in the community programs. And as you mentioned, SMOC has moved across the state really in response to other community needs that have been identified. We're in Springfield because there was a program called Open Pantry Community Services, which does a lot of incredibly hard work around food insecurity. Food pantry and meal programs were the kind of core programs there, and they were struggling financially, and we were able to kind of go in and help them shore things up. And so then in addition, we've now added some more housing and support programs because we know that there's an emergency shelter and homelessness issue in Springfield and certainly in the surrounding communities. Homelessness is a statewide problem. You and I both know that. And so you really have to kind of target it in each of the communities in the Commonwealth because it's really everybody's issue. And so in Springfield, we've done a lot of around housing development and supportive services. And then in Worcester, we went into a shelter that was operating there for many, many years, and again, needing to go through some leadership changes. So we went in and eventually affiliated with them and changed it to the Greater Worcester Housing Connection. And again, we don't just operate emergency shelter, we have a housing footprint there. So it's a lot of work around assessment, figuring out what people need, how can we connect them to the services they need, getting them into housing, and then giving them support services that they may need so that they stay housed. And then the same thing happened in Lowell, where there was a shelter there where we were called in to help with an emergency shelter program there. And again, we're developing some additional housing there as well, and really feeling committed to each of those communities. We employ people in those communities. Our management staff are from those communities. We really try to represent the communities in the work that we do because we know it's slightly different. The problem of homelessness is the same across the state. Housing is too expensive, and people with low incomes can't afford it. And it's gotten worse over the years. But we know that the solutions are finding some affordable housing units, matching people with subsidies and vouchers when they can get them, and then giving them also the wraparound support so that they can stay stably housed and overcome other obstacles that they may have with whether it be behavioral health issues, substance use, and it's kind of a road to recovery, right? Recovery isn't just one and done. I stopped drinking or drugging and that's that. Sometimes people they take a step forward and they take a step backward, but it's a journey, and we try to go on the journey with them and really provide that support so they keep trying. I think that's really the name of the game. And then people feel good. Once they're in housing, they're ready to maybe think a little bit more about trying sobriety again and feeling some more success with it. When you have your own place, a key and a lock in your own four walls, it really makes a big difference for people. And so we know that's the most important thing in each of the communities that in which we work.
How many units did you say you ran statewide?
About 1,800.
Okay, wow.
Some family and individuals.
Okay.
Families and individuals, yes.
1,800, okay. I hadn't ever ventured to think of how many units maybe you manage. So it's good to finally have a number there. You're definitely not new to SMOC. We were talking before the show. You've 30-something years at SMOC in one capacity or another. But can you talk to us a little bit about your own journey, like how you first got involved, and now you're the boss.
Sure. And it's funny, if someone had told me when I started that I would be where I am today, I really wouldn't have believed it. I really reflect the people that we serve and the people who work for us, in that I was a single parent living paycheck to paycheck, really struggled financially myself in my early career at SMOC. And I'm also a daughter and a granddaughter of immigrants, newcomers to this country who came searching for a better life. And so I really value and embrace all of those pieces of my identity. And at SMOC, I was really provided with opportunities to advance. And I started in the Housing Corporation, actually. I'll give a shout out to Darlene Asenko-Mazurek, an Ashland person who actually hired me at SMOC as a housing coordinator. And then I had a lot of opportunities to move around. I worked in the family emergency shelter system for a while as a case manager, and then I worked in the single adult emergency shelter programs, and so kind of advanced throughout. And I will say another thing that the agency gave to me was a push and encouragement to go back to college, because I had been in college and then I stopped because I couldn't afford it and I had a young son. But I went back many years later and I did finish. And so that's the kind of, again, thing I see in the people that we serve and other people who work for us every day. So I feel I truly reflect both populations. And so I feel really excited to be in the place where I am. I love what I do. I love the people I work with, and I really feel the mission, like right here, because of the way I was raised and my own experiences. So it was just meant to be.
And are you only the second executive director after?
No, I think there was one before Jim, and then Jim, and so I guess I'm the third.
Okay. Jim had been around.
He was there for a long time, 30-something years, yes.
Anytime that an executive director comes in, and especially after somebody who's been there for so many years, it can be tricky because everyone assumes that there's a culture of the building that we all take a part in, that those who work in a building. And so I'm sure you're putting your own spin on things, and over time, SMOC will take a different shape because of your leadership and your priorities. But as you look down the road, I wish we had a crystal ball. That would make so much of our work so much easier. But if we were talking 5 years down the road about your successes over the previous 5, what do you hope to be able to say when we have that conversation? Because I'll reach out. Hopefully we'll both be
we'll go
still
down memory
gainfully
lane.
employed.
Yes,
and yes,
let's hope.
Yes.
Well, I think, number one is really maintaining the excellent service that we provide, and the range. As I talked at the beginning, it's a wide range of things, and so I think maintaining that at a really high standard is terrific, and so that's one of my primary goals. But also looking for new opportunities in the communities in which we work, because we know there are unmet needs, there are emerging needs, things shift and change over time, and so how can we be helpful? What do people need that isn't getting addressed? Right now we're in the midst of doing our community needs assessment. And so we are asking the community, you can go on our website and there's a banner that you can click and take a community needs assessment.
Just SMOC.org?
SMOC.org.
Okay,
yes.
SMOC, SMOC.org. Okay.
Yes, O-R-G. And so anyone can take the community needs assessment. Okay. So we're going to gather all that information together and really use that to guide how we plan out what we want to do over the next several years. I'm also interested in looking at community organizing, kind of back to our roots as a community action agency, and what could we be doing a little bit differently or more assertively around community organizing and helping people within our communities, especially the disadvantaged and those who don't feel they have a voice, helping them to find their voices and use them however they see fit. So we're interested in taking a look at that. And I'm also really excited about our diversity, access, and inclusion strategic plan that we've just put together. It took us about close to a year. We worked with the Wayside Equity Training Center. They helped us kind of walk through the process to develop a plan. And so we've just kicked it off and are moving forward on that. We've hired diversity officer who's been wonderful and is off to a great start. So I think those are some of the things that I'd like to see. It's like you're planting the seeds and you'll see some of the fruit down the road a little bit, but I feel good about where we are to date.
Excellent. Well, in 5 years, we'll come right back here, and I'll be in touch with your office probably. Continue to be in touch every week between now and that date in the future. But I just have to say, and I said this on the onset, you do so much. And it's hard because I don't think the average resident of our communities knows how much you do. And for me as a state rep, we try to take care of our constituent issues as much internally as we can. But more often than not, we have to reach out to a state agency or to a social service agency. And I can't imagine how we would help meet the needs of constituents without you being there, without the staff that you have that are remarkable, all of them, being as responsive as they are. The tricky part, though, is I can sing your praises, I'm doing it right now, and I'll do it every chance I get, but every time you help somebody, you can't just go on social media and it would be inappropriate. Take a picture of yourself, praising SMOC, look at the great work we do, look at the resources we have, look how well we're using them. And so I sometimes worry that the average person just doesn't know all of the things you do, the vital work that you do. If they themselves don't think that they've ever used or would use your services, I fear that they are oblivious to the fact, in some cases, that their neighbors have, and maybe even family members that they haven't been notified about. And so that was a long lead to say, is there anything that you wish maybe folks watching at home that wish that they knew about SMOC that maybe the average person just isn't aware of?
Well, I think sometimes people associate us with some of the more challenging people, and we really embrace working with those folks, and we know it's core to our mission. So people just associate us sometimes with that, and sometimes I think we get painted with a broad brush, and it's unflattering perhaps. But and we do serve those people, and we're happy that we do, and it's as I said, it's key to our mission. But we also do a lot of things like the tax prep that's going on right now. The VITA tax prep is happening for people who are low income, can get their taxes done for free. And we helped people get $1 million back, I think, in tax returns last year. So things like that. I mentioned fuel assistance. Again, people can have a decent income and still qualify for some fuel assistance. So it may be people that are your neighbors, and it's a wide range of people that we serve. Children in childcare, children getting WIC services, a lot of information and education for landlords. Landlords maybe don't know what the law is all the time. Somebody, mom and pop, buy a 2-family house and they may not know. They can call our Housing Consumer Education Center, and we'll give them the information about security deposit law so they can do it correctly. So there really is something for just about everybody across the organization. And so we so appreciate, you and all of the Metro West legislative delegation are so supportive and really committed to serving the same people we are. We feel fortunate to be part of the community. I think I like to focus more on all of the support we have. I know there are some naysayers from time to time, but there's also a heck of a lot of support, which we're very, very fortunate to be surrounded by.
No, thank you. And anything I can ever do or we can ever do. I often share a story when we were going down the process of becoming pre-adoptive foster parents. We went into it knowing this is something we wanted to do, but not quite realizing what parenthood was going to all entail. I think most people, I don't think anyone realizes until they become a parent how much your life is going to change. But I remember getting notified that we had been matched and that they were hoping that this cute, smart, sassy 4-year-old was going to move in with us. And they emailed me a document of places to call for services because they wanted some additional services for our family with the transition. And SMOC, Advocates, and Wayside were on the list. And this was 9 years ago now. So I lived in Framingham, but I wasn't a state rep yet. SMOC, Wayside, Advocates, those were just names on buildings that I didn't have a personal connection with. And I remember going down, I called each of them. Everyone called me back within 24 hours. SMOC called me back first. And those first couple years, as our family grew and we helped to take care of that sassy, smart 4-year-old, Smock was there, providing my family services that he needed, that we needed. And so now I feel like I'm in a unique place because I can be your advocate at the State House. I understand the work you do, but I've had this rare glimpse, and really only into a small aspect of your programs. I think you've given me a flu shot once or twice as well. But early on, I just remember like, Smock. Oh yeah, okay. And the great folks showed up at our house and provided the support that we needed. And so again, for folks at home, if it's fuel assistance, if it's housing, you can reach out to my office. You can go to smock.org. There's an updated website coming, I'm told. But we're always happy to make that connection. And as you said before, if there's a need that another social service agency can provide, you don't abandon anybody. You make the recommendation and the referral. And we had talked about Leominster before. A good friend and colleague who's the state rep in Leominster could not be happier that not only is Smock providing this need in her community, because I talk her ear off all the time about Smock, but what you've already done in a short period of time in supporting her constituents and by extension her office. None of us could thank you enough. So I'm excited to continue to journey with you down this road. Our constituents have needs that sometimes aren't as clear to see, and sometimes people aren't readily willing to ask for support, but that's what a Commonwealth is, and that's what you all do. And Susan, I'm just so grateful that you took the time not only to come here, but for what you and all of your staff do. 5 years from now, we'll get on our calendars.
Sounds good. We'll pencil it in.
We'll meet right here. But again, for those tuning in at home, if you think any of the services we talked about were something that could be supportive of you or your family, you can go to smoc.org. You can reach out to my office directly, and I can help make that connection. But never be shy about reaching out for supports. And if you don't know where to turn, there's wonderful agencies here in Ashland and in Framingham and across our region that are in a place and eager to be supportive. For those tuning in, I can't wait till next time.